This says name two pairs of alternate interior angles. Are they congruent or supplementary? So see if you can find two pairs of alternate interior angles. Alternate interior angles are congruent. In this picture, angles 3 and 4 are alternate interior angles and congruent to each other, and angles 4 and 5 are alternate interior angles and congruent to each other. Next, it says to find two pairs of adjacent supplementary angles. So these are the supplementary angles that are formed because they are on a straight line that is being split into two angles. So name two pairs, and then are they supplementary or congruent? Pause and try this. There are several possible answers. I chose angle 1 and angle 2, and angle 7 and angle 8. And obviously they're supplementary. They add up to 180 degrees. Next, name two pairs of vertical angles. Are they congruent or supplementary? Here I have shown all the angles and their relationships to one another. I chose to list angles 2 and 3 and angles 5 and 8 as my vertical angles. Vertical angles are always congruent. Now name two pairs of corresponding angles. Are they congruent or supplementary? Corresponding angles are the angles in the same position on each of the two parallel lines. I chose angles 1 and 5 and angles 7 and 3 to show as my pairs of angles that are corresponding. And since they're the same angles, corresponding angles are always congruent. Now name two pairs of same side interior angles. Are they congruent or supplementary? In this case, there are only two pairs of same side interior angles. Remember, interior angles are inside, in between the two parallel lines. And same side would be on the same side of our transversal. So the two pairs here are angles 3 and 5. They're on the same side of the transversal and interior to the parallel lines. And angles 4 and 6. And these are going to be supplementary angles. Now, one thing I want you to notice here is your choice was either congruent or supplementary for all of these relationships. So all the relationships we've talked about between any two angles that are created is that the two angles will either be congruent or supplementary. If you look at the basic diagram of two parallel lines with a transversal intersecting them, you can see clearly that if you pick any two angles in this diagram, the two angles will either be congruent or they'll add up to 180. There'll be one of the obtuse and one of the acute that add up to 180. So any two angles we pick will always be either congruent or supplementary. Now that we know all of this, anytime we have two parallel lines and one transversal, if you know the measurement of one angle, you can find the measure of all the rest of the angles. In this example, we're told that line L is parallel to line M. That's how you read this notation. And you're also told that the measure of angle 3 is 120 degrees. So I'm going to write that in my diagram. And then you're asked to find all the angle measures. So typically with geometry, you'll have a given, and then there's something you'll be asked to find. So the given is the information you're told, and then find is what you're trying to figure out. So I'd like you to use all your definitions and see if you can figure out the measures of each of these angles and think about what definitions you're using. Pause the video and come back. This is what your diagram should look like. So typically when I start, I would start with angles 4, 3, 8, and 7, although it doesn't really matter where you start. And I typically start with vertical angles and supplementary angles. So I know angles 3 and 8 are congruent because they're vertical. So that's how I know angle 8 is 120 degrees. And then I know angle 4 is supplementary to both angle 8 and angle 3. So it's 60 degrees to add up to equal 180. And angle 7 is congruent to angle 4. Or you can think of it as supplementary to angles 3 or angle 8. So that's how I would start. And then, quite frankly, you can just use corresponding angles to transfer all of these angles over to the other parallel line. Angle 4 corresponds with angle 2, angle 3 corresponds with angle 1, angle 8 corresponds with angle 6, angle 7 corresponds with angle 5, or you can use corresponding angles to get one of the angles down here with all four of these, and then work again with vertical angles and supplementary angles to find the rest of them. Notice that we didn't even have to use alternate interior or same side interior because those two actually fall out of using the first three definitions, the definitions of supplementary angles, vertical angles, and corresponding angles. But you will see angles 3 and angles 6 are alternate interior, and congruent 7 and 2 are alternate interior and congruent. Angles 3 and 2 are same side supplementary, same side interior, which is supplementary, and angles 7 and 6 are same side interior, which is also supplementary. So try this next practice. Angle 2 is 20 degrees, so find the degree measure of the rest of the angles. Pause the video. And here are all the degree measures once you have finished your diagram. Let's move